guests from last Thursday. I love them because they are very passionate about tourism. To my extreme left is Mr. Kwame Deborah. And then in the middle is Yawa Salasi Abebio. And next to me is Mr. Yao Agbeto. Welcome again to PM Express.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, how do we, and Kwame, I'll start with you. How do we sell our country, encourage more people to come in, and not get tagged as, you know, an immorality hotspot, and that's why people are coming in? How do we do that?
Thank you very much, Nana, and good evening to your viewers. I think that in your introduction, as you said, Ghana is not yet a hotspot for sex tourism. Yes, it is there, low key. So it is easy for anybody to argue that it is not there. But I have evidence that it is there. Mm-hmm. We, as a country, for policy, we are not determined to open our doors and completely for everybody else to come in. Yes, we want tourists to come, but we are looking for quality. We do not want just anybody to come in. So, for our policy-wise, we are not going to open up Ghana just as probably it is elsewhere. So we are a bit cautious with our marketing. People will complain that, yes, we are talking tourism, where are the tourists? Yes, there's deliberate effort not to just open Ghana up for everybody else to come in. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, well, I'll pick up on quality. Now, I go to an embassy in Netherlands, or I go to an embassy in the UK, and I say, you know, I want to go and visit Labadi Beach. I want to go to Ewukugwa to see Okomfo Anoche's, wonders. Now, how do they determine that Nana Sakwa has quality, or indeed he has ulterior motives?
Well, in terms of ulterior motives, that would be hard to determine. But I guess there are requirements or criteria for those wanting to come into Ghana. Just like any embassy or any country, if somebody wants to go elsewhere, there are certain things they need to meet. And our embassies, I'm sure, are well equipped to do that. So if someone goes to any of our missions abroad and says, I want to visit Ghana, there would be certain things they would look for. Do you know where you want to go? How are you going to support yourself? So those are standard questions that would be asked, and if they meet them, then they would be allowed to come. Beyond that, then it behoves on the practitioners and everybody else to be vigilant, because someone may say one thing, looks very good on paper, but comes into Ghana and does something completely different. And so at that point, those who gave them entrance or gave them visas would not be able to determine what they are doing actually on the ground. So that is where the practitioners would come in, and everybody else, to be watchdogs to ensure that they sort of, to a large extent, do what they say they're here for.
So I was just going to pick up on that, because some of the requirements at the embassy is if you have enough money to look after yourself, where you're going to stay, how long would you stay, and indeed, do you have any intention of returning? So, I provide my money, I've paid for my hotel, I've actually booked it, and maybe I'm a lawyer in, wherever country it is that I am going, so definitely you know that I'm not going to leave my law firm there and run to Ghana, so by all means, indeed, I will come back. Mm-hmm. But the guy is a pedophile, molester. How are we doomed? Do we just have to accept it, or is there a way of checking it? How do you do that?
We cannot say we are doomed, because there has to be a way, and we must find the way. And I'll say that. See, we will find the way at 3 levels. Number 1. Government, as the state as represented in government. You see, the final responsibility for ensuring that Ghana is a decent place is that of government. And therefore, government should endeavor to bring policies that will ensure that we arrive at a point where we can say that this is a decent country. That is number one. Then number two, the players in the industry, that is the tourism private sector, they have a role to play. They have a role to play in the sense that those who come to indulge in these immoral activities actually make use of the facilities that the private sector provide. Hotels, car rentals, taxis, trotters, restaurants, whatever. Now, the industry should develop, the ability to tell itself that we must ensure that this doesn't happen. And how do they do it? See, now they should be able to, have a certain set of code of ethics for the hotels, the kinds of people who come, watch them. How do they behave? What kinds of characteristic movements do they portray?
So,
for example, no, not deterrent per se. Watch the vigilance. And when you are going to be vigilant, you must have certain criteria, certain characteristics you look out for. For example, we must ask ourselves, all the pedophiles that walked this country before, those that have been arrested, what basic information can we tap from them? If they were coming to Ghana, what kind of reasons do they give? Generally, is there any pattern? Now, when we get this pattern, we feed this into our, database, so that we know that once somebody goes to our embassy, let's say whether it's Japan, whether it is in UK, whether it is wherever, and begin to give these kinds of, reasons for coming to Ghana, we begin to watch that person, even from the embassy level. By the time they arrive in Ghana, so, okay, this man is coming, he says he's that. Please, these are some of the things we've noted before. Watch them. The developed world, they have a system of monitoring the sorts of people that come to them. For example, when you go to America now with a certain kind of name, they begin to watch you. They won't tell you per se, but the system is alert. They know that perhaps you are coming from this kind of background and you could be a risk to them. That's the kind of thing we should be doing, so that our security should not slip. They should always be alert for these sorts of things, because there are certain basic patterns, certain characteristics we note, and we must use those sorts of things to see if it can help us to...
But we are an over-hospitable people. So if somebody comes with a certain kind of name, we then become extra welcoming. Even if the guy came and he had the same name as us, it's fine. But if he came and he has a different name, which is a bit more westernized, we become extremely receptible to this person. And therefore, we even give him a longer leash to roam about. And that's, I don't know if it's our nature or if it's our culture. So then that sort of brings in, that extra problem where we're not even tailing them because we think, oh, he's called Smith. And there you go. You're most welcome. Go and roam about.
Little gods.
Yes, that's it. But the point is this. For the ordinary Ghanaian, that may happen. But if you are a security man, let's say you are at the borders, you are the first line of, receiving people into the country, you cannot sleep. You cannot just say that, oh, we are hospitable, so anybody who comes. So for me, the policeman, the customs man, all of them, they have to be extra alert, and they cannot behave like the ordinary Ghanaian.
Let me go to Kwame. Kwame, a lot of people go to Singapore. Lots of people. In fact, one of the countries that I wouldn't mind visiting, because I've heard that it's clean country, everything works like clockwork. I've heard all good things and read about Singapore. I've never been there. I'd love to go there. But I've never heard of them as a sex tourism site. So what makes one country tagged as a sex tourism destination and the other not?
sometimes it is pure mischief. It may be real, it may be there, but sometimes it's mischief. Somebody may come around and then go to put online that he came to Ghana and had a sex with a 12-year-old girl, which may not be true. There is a lot of misinformation out there, especially online. So it may not be true. Singapore, as we talk about, is a highly educated system. In Ghana, illiteracy is still high. Even those who think they are literate, how much do they know? After school, all the books aside, except probably Bible and Quran. So information is not going either. And then our system is highly politicized, so that it is political information. You watch the newspapers. If your paper is not politics and sports, nobody wants to buy it. So the kind of information we are fed with also develops our mindset to some extent. So we need to inform people that, look here, this is going on. It's not everybody who comes here who is good or who has good intentions. So education has a role to play. If Singaporeans are doing well and we are not hearing of pedophile, sectorism and the rest, then it may be because they know, and they know how to handle foreigners. And we can do that.
Yeah, well, Kwame is saying that, you know, some of the stories online may be blown out of proportion, and indeed maybe things are not as bad as it may seem, you know. So then it brings to my question is that, is it not here yet, so let's not, you know, start jumping up and down and pretending that it's here, or it's actually here, and that, you know, Kwame is being the proverbial Ghanaian where we bury our head in the sun.
No, if anything that starts, if you don't want it to continue, you need to take steps to curb it. It won't die out by itself. And so, and again, we don't need to say, oh, we are fine, nothing's happening, and not do anything about it. Even if it's not happening, and I'm not saying it's not happening, even if it's not happening, programs like this, creating the awareness so that if the trends start to show, we are equipped, we are well educated to be able to curb it or do something about it. So, no, we can't relax and say, Ghana, we are fine, nothing's happening. If it's happening in other places, and again, Ghana is in the limelight for lots of reasons. And so people are getting to hear about us more and more. And those who have the ability would want to come and see what's here. And so those who would come and want to see what's here may not always end up doing what's proper or what's good. So the more we become known and the more people are coming in, business, everything else, then as we need to create the awareness so that it doesn't get out of proportion if it hasn't got out of proportion already.
Yeah, I was looking, you know, through the, and I think in 2005 they said we had about 500,000 visitors, and then in 2010 they rose up to about, you know, just under 1 million visitors in the whole year. As a country, I mean, that's a really small number. You know, why haven't we capitalized on it? Why haven't we started selling ourselves for people to come?
It's a good point you've raised, because over and over and again, each time someone comes into Ghana or stumbles into Ghana and they see what we have, they marvel and say, how come we haven't heard of Ghana? How come we haven't heard of you? Or we didn't know you had this. There's a bit of everything in Ghana. Safari, beach, forest, all the things we can find in Ghana. And so I think in the past we have mostly depended on our traditional money-making things like cocoa, timber, and haven't paid so much attention to tourism because perhaps we've considered it as leisure, and therefore if people want to, they will come, or then they come because they want to. But if we realize that tourism can bring in a lot more, then everywhere we make it a national policy that no matter what you're doing, no matter where you are, talk about Ghana, promote something positive about Ghana. and the world is listening, and they will hear, and they will come. It's as simple as that.
Kwame, I mean, it's easy picking. Tourism is easy pickings. I mean, all you do is say that, hello, I'm here, and then they'll come with their money, and then you take it. So, I mean, what's the big deal?
All the countries we know of that is doing so much big in tourism started from domestic tourism. Ghanaians are not traveling within Ghana that much. So what is there for somebody else to come and see?
Number one.
You are number one.
Yes,
so repent
guilty.
now.
Guilty as charged.
So Ghanaians will have to travel within Ghana so that gradually we develop places we go to. Then the world out there will come. Basically, we travel because of social imperatives. Funerals, weddings, visiting family and friends.
Outdooring.
And all that we do. We need to deliberately, consciously begin to package Ghana to Ghanaians and convince Ghanaians to travel. Number one, if we do so, we are redistributing our money so that gradually we are beginning to develop places of interest. Then the world can come and see what we have seen. Because I tell you today, if somebody arrives and sits in the taxi and asks the taxi driver, what is in Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum? He'll be just staring at it. But other countries, it is not so. Let's package Ghana for Ghanaians first, then the world will come and see. That's the way to go.
I mean, as a child,
yes,
other than my mom's hometown and my father's hometown, I was never taken anywhere. You know, I either went to a Akropong or I go to Chelsea.
Excursion?
No, in my school we never went on excursion. Never. Even through secondary school, I didn't remember going to excursion other than the stadium where it was inter-colleges. So I haven't cultivated the habit of just sitting in my car and say, you know, I'm going to drive east or I'm going to drive west and see what's there. And so I've grown up like that. And obviously, I don't encourage my children to go anywhere because I'm not going for them to go. And so my grandchildren will probably be, you know, the same. Now, we have that. And then we have, even if I really ventured out and went to a tourist site, you tend to find out, they said, oh, there's a big tree there. So you go, and then there's the big tree. And then, yes, well, that's it. That's your big tree. You know, there's no place of convenience. There's no food. There's nothing to, you know, you just literally need to drive another 2-3 hours back because that was your tourist attraction. So, I mean, you can't blame me, you know, even though I'm guilty.
Yeah, that's how it appears. But you see, at a certain point, you are yourself. You know, when you were growing up, you know, perhaps your parents were unable to provide that kind of impetus that will instill in you the desire to travel around. But your parents won't be there all the time. Since you became an adult on your own, things could have happened in the system that will make you develop that desire to travel. You see, traveling is a natural human, you know, characteristic. It's curiosity. Unless you want to tell me you don't feel curious about anything about this country, there must be something. But once the system itself is not packaging the thing, and I must blame the private sector, the tourism private sector, we should be able to put packages together that will attract Ghanaians who may otherwise not travel. It is our duty. Perhaps we are not doing it, or we are not doing it well. Because there is a whole lot out here that should even interest Ghanaians. You know, for example, if I tell you that there is a town somewhere in Chimansa, Itresu they call it, where there is a groove, a river. You know, normally when you enter a river, the fish will not come to you. They run away because they fear you, you know, there is that threat to them. But these fishes out there, they come around, you can touch them. Because the people do not disturb them. They don't catch them. They don't eat them. So the fish know they are living in harmony with the people. So human beings don't frighten them anymore. But how many Ghanaians know?
None.
We have stuff like that all over the country. So it is what Kwame was saying, that we are not packaging the thing for Ghanaians to know. That is the first line. Because those who travel, outside Ghana, the Ghanaians who travel, are the first people who should be selling Ghana. They themselves don't know. Therefore, there is no way they could have sold it. And you see, there is something about tourism that we should understand, and even government should endeavor that we begin to promote tourism seriously. You see, the first thing tourism gives is, money. It redistributes wealth, from the rich to the poor, generally. But beyond that, when people travel, they carry around with them the 5 senses, the sense of sight, touch, all that. And as they travel around, they eat, they smell, they touch, they do everything. And once those things are being done, people begin to ask questions. You get to a place where you realize that, there is so much maize over here. Then out there is a scarcity of maize. Then you ask yourself, so if I begin to bring maize from this to this point, won't I make money? You begin to think about investment. So tourism will first bring people, but those people ultimately become investors. And that is the primary thing we should be looking at, not just the money they bring as a short-term measure. Does it translate into people deciding to invest in Ghana? If we do it well, every 10 people who come here, perhaps one of them will become an investor that will create jobs.
Yeah, well, I once upon a time went to Dodi Island. So we drove early in the morning, sat on the ferry took off, brass band, food, beautiful journey, get to the island, boat parks. So we get out, and there's 2-3 drama troops. And apart from the people drumming, everybody else was just begging for money. So I was telling this girl that, pluck a leaf and tell a story. It's the Dodi Island leaf. Go and show it that you came to Dodi Island and let me pay 2 cedis for this leaf, But then that was it.
Yes. People at tourist sites haven't looked for ways to sell their destination. As you said, they rather see the tourists coming as people who would help them, and not they selling or marketing themselves to the people coming. And so it's a disturbing factor. I remember when we were in Senegal, they sold us anything. They would put sand in bottles and sort of line it up a little bit, and they sell it to you. They would sell you lizard skin and say it's crocodile. I mean, young boys on the street were selling things and promoting. They made it sound like you needed to have it because this was unique to this place. And they made money. Of course, we bought some things that were not unique at all. But if we begin to realize these things, and those of us in destinations, or even we don't have to be there at the sites, but if we know about Dodi, we could start a venture ourselves and promote Dodi. Why not? Someone said Ghanaians go to people and not to places. And therefore, if there are nice places and yet I don't know anybody there and I have no reason to go there, I don't see why I should drive all the way to go and see or look at a tree or look at sand or look at water. I have better ways of spending my time. And so I would wait until there's a funeral there and then I'll take advantage of that and go. And so we don't think that domestic tourism is anything to write home about. And we would rather save and spend a lot of money and be able to make at least one trip outside of the country before you die, because that counts. I mean, if you're going to get a visa and they ask you, have you ever traveled? Surely you can say, yes, I've been here in the country. That doesn't seem to count. Even if you've traveled outside of Ghana within the sub-region, it doesn't seem to count. I've done packages where clearly this person cannot afford a trip abroad. and you're trying to convince them to take a trip within Ghana, they'll say, oh, no, I'd rather save everything I have and be able to make that one trip outside of the country, because then that's what counts. So then everybody or most people would really, really struggle to go out and not go within, because we don't think it's worth our while.
We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're discussing. Now, escort agencies are also booming because why? They are taking advantage of these guys who are coming with serious dollars. What do we do? Regularize them or turn a blind eye and say, it's not here? Stay. Well, just before the break, we said that the escort agencies are now booming. I'll read a little excerpt. It says, another worrying trend is the emergence of escort agencies whose chief purpose is to act as intermediaries in supplying the girls for sex tourism. Some of these agencies, which openly advertise their services on the net, charge as much as $250 an hour, with an additional $100 for every hour you spend. And for a 24-hour service, the agency can charge up to $1,500. But don't panic, because they leave room for bargaining. So there's room for bargaining. Kwame, I'll start with you. Now, you see, again, I mean, $1,500, not many people will earn that sort of money in our present climate. Lots of people fall under this bracket. So going back to our last conversation, which I said, wouldn't it be better if we licensed these people and took, like $500 for the state, or even $650 for the state?
No, licensing it will mean endorsing immorality. Yes, immorality will be there. It's been there to be there. Even I know of places where...
These are tour guides.
I know of places where some of our ladies go to leave their cats so that they can be called. It is there. And we have all kinds of ladies, university students, senior high school students, bankers, business people, all into this. So I'm not surprised to hear that there are escort agencies who are now coming in to help them. But must we endorse this? No. As I told you the other day, nobody will listen to you if you say...
But then we can't stop them either.
Well, now that we know it is like it's getting to this level, our security agencies must come in, because prostitution is illegal in Ghana.
No, these are not prostitutes. These are escort girls.
In other words, they are prostitutes.
They are going to show you Boti Falls. They are going to show you the Volta River, the Volta Lake.
And then what?
Well, who knows? But there's still $1,500 at stake for the state. I mean, how do we police this? And I mean, there's a trend going on here.
Yes. These people are going beyond the traditional tour guide thing and adding a bit of flavor or color, if you like. I know it's there in other countries, and it's gradually being introduced here. Some of these are registered businesses, and then they advertise, and it seems quite harmless until you call and start asking questions. And then they give you their criteria. You have to be within a certain age. I think you have to have you shouldn't go beyond a certain plumpness. And there are specifications you need to meet. And I was curious and I was asking, and I didn't realize what it was. And so unfortunately I was telling them the truth, and I didn't qualify because they were looking for a certain range. But these are registered people, as you said, openly advertising. And I don't know if it's the demand that brought in the service or the service that's creating a demand, in that business travelers especially who are coming into Ghana are asking for a bit more than the traditional, perhaps boring tour guide, and would want, after they've concluded their business deal, to have a bit of fun or have pleasant company. And so entrepreneurs, if I can call them that, have looked at this growing situation and try to provide a solution to it. So if these are registered businesses, then where do they fall? Are they tourists? Are they tourist-oriented businesses, or what are they? And if there's a growing trend, then there must be some criteria that they should meet, I think. But who's to say what happens when the two people go off, the young escort and the traveler who comes in? The business person or the proprietor might take the money and then say, oh, so you are with Mr. or Miss or Mrs. So-and-so for 2 hours. They want to go to Accra. And so they go off into Accra. But after that, we don't know what happens.
Yeah, that's a quick tour around Accra. 2 hours is a really quick tour around Accra. But as a state, we've now found oil in commercial quantities. Gold price is fairly good, and people with serious money would by all means follow this resource into our country. Fortunately or unfortunately, we are not war-torn, we are not known to be aggressive. So it's a good platform for investment. And when these people come, these sort of businesses are going to generate, because they don't want, the old girl standing by the side of the road charging 30 cedis. No, they have a lot of money to dispose of before the taxman takes it. No wonder, somebody can pay 1,500 cedis, dollars for a night, It's probably, change that he got from the night before. Mm-hmm. How do we guard against it, or how do we regularize it? Because otherwise what we then do is that, it's immoral, it's illegal, it's not here, and all this money will go through the system and be lost.
To begin with, that money is not going to go through the system and be lost.
No, but the state is not going to get it. I mean, the
now
state
you are saying the
needs
state...
we need to get direct tax from it.
That is, if we decide that the state should legalize it, then we will begin to look at taxing it.
Yes.
But the point is, legalizing sex...
No, you're not legalizing sex. You're legalizing
prostitution,
the escort agency.
Or the escort agency. Mm-hmm. And the point is, sometimes it's a bit dicey, because when a man walks into town and says, I am looking for a tour guide, that tour guide has to be a lady of a certain, specification. Mm-hmm. That it looks a bit harmless. I mean, there's very little you can do about that. And then a lady pops up, says, oh, I am the one, for you. I can take you all around. The tacit understanding is there. See, there are things you will not be able to completely stop. It is
so should we
difficult.
not turn a blind eye and tax it?
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Would you recommend that we legalize the drug trade? Is that also not generating money?
No, but the drug trade is would physically, affect somebody. Mm-hmm. But
because that one is physical.
Yeah, but this one, I mean, they are doing it anyway. The fact that money exchange hand didn't stop. I mean, managers do it with their secretary all the time.
Yes. See, the other day, we made a point. Mm-hmm. Whatever decision anybody makes, whatever choice you make, there is a price to pay. So if government legalizes this kind of thing, there is a price the country will pay. The individuals who are doing it, some of them are paying prices only that we won't know. Whilst they are there beautiful, hopping around, we look at them, we think they must really be making good money. When they fizzle out of the system, we don't know. Because we don't even track them. We don't even know where they are anymore. But the society will pay
Is the society not paying? Because it is going on. As we are doing this show now, this escort agency is probably picking up a call and, you know, sending a size 16 or size 14, you know, tall girl to go and show somebody, you know,
and somebody is already even in a hotel.
Where River Brame is. You know, if this girl even knows where River Brame is, it's none of our business. But what then is that at the end of the day, there's $1,500 which is going to exchange hands, and the state needs money. So why not?
No, the state, like I said, cannot afford to make, for example, all the countries where we say sex tourism takes place. I don't know of any country that packages itself or brands itself as a sex tourism destination, or a country that makes sex tourism one of its tourist products. I don't know of any.
Thailand is number one hotspot. It doesn't go about printing leaflets saying that, oh, come to Thailand because there's a lot of girls here. No, they don't say that. They advertise their beaches and everything. However, when you go to Thailand, even though it's illegal, they turn a blind eye. But so I'll use a country which is legal like the Netherlands. You know, they have their red light district, and I think it actually even curbs underage girls from, you know, joining the trade, because now you need to come to a regularized, you know, place, and therefore you have to probably be of age and above so that you can be a member of it, and nobody's forced into it. You can go there if you want to.
No, you see, you're right in saying that they turn a blind eye. They can only do so because even over here, do we have the system in place to monitor us today, let alone monitor that? So it may be going on low-key, small scale, but once we open up and say, okay, we're going to tax these ladies and all that, do we have the system to monitor them, their health status, how much they are earning, so that we can say, you are paying this much to government? We don't have that system.
Well, we treat them like taxi drivers. You pick the car up and say you're going to bring 20 cities at the end of the month. Whether you get the passengers or not, by the end of the day, you need to pay that. You cut a fee for them. I mean, approximately, you know that, you know, they are earning between this figure. So you give them, and say, at the end of the month, this is how much you pay. Whether you make more or less, that's up to you. But you pay this if you want to be in the industry.
That cannot be done.
But, so how is it done in the Netherlands? They pay taxes.
They run a different system. Probably they have a way of tracking them down. They have a way of registering them. Who will come out today in Ghana and say, look here, I'm a prostitute, so register me. Get me registered.
No, so we use the... we'll take the prostitute tag and say, look, I'm an escort lady. You know, I'm a, pleasure-seeking lady. We're going to go for a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to find out how do we regularize this thing. It's going on. There's money exchange in hand, and the state needs money. How do we do it? Stay tuned. Welcome back. We are trying to find out how it is that we're going to regularize this institution. What name do we put on it so that it doesn't sound too bad? Because as soon as you say prostitute, everybody's like, yuck. So what do we say? Escorts, leisure ladies? What do we say? How do we monitor it? Or do we say, no, this is an absolute no. It might as well go on our blind sides and just pretend it doesn't happen? What do we do? Kwame, I know you are vehemently against legalizing this industry, even though there's thousands and thousands exchanging hands in the industry within the state, and the state needs to make money. So if the state cannot stop it, then the state should make money out of it.
Well, I don't want the state to make money from this, because wherever the state is making money from today, the state has not proved that it can use any money it gets to take good care of us. So it must as well stay away from that. I want to say that if we legalize it, then we are opening the floodgates. As at now, you said thousands and thousands of dollars are exchanging hands. We have no evidence to prove that. So probably for all you know, just a lot of money exchanging hands. So let's give it a blind eye, but have plan a way of curtailing it or reducing it to the minimum level through probably education. families educating their young ones, schools educating their students, national civic education, something, being on a campaign that this is not good, it is not right, so that we can suppress it. But if we say we are legalizing it, then what is the purpose of religion in Ghana? Because remember, we are a very religious nation, so we cannot endorse such a thing. I said to you the other day, give it a try and see what will happen in Ghana. So we cannot do that. No.
Yeah. What is so bad about sex that as soon as you talk about sex, everybody is jumping up and down? Oh, this is a taboo. It should not be done. It's only when you are married and this. And everyone, or majority, most, have had premarital sex. Whether money exchanged hands or not, they did. But as soon as you talk about sex, we are all shaking in our leaves that no, don't talk about sex. So why don't we just, that's all. They're not going to kill anybody. Just going to have sex. And
but they have disease.
No, they are having the sex anyway. Disease or no disease. Everyone is having sex. Disease or no disease. But anytime you raise the issue, we panic. I mean, why don't we just liberalize? And
we said the other time that as a people, we don't talk openly about sex. Mothers or parents raising their girls and their boys, it's rare to find them going directly and saying the things and mentioning the organs and everything and saying it explicitly. They go around it in a way, and the child is expected to understand, or at that point they would know what parents were talking about. We don't talk about it openly, and we think it's a private matter between two people.
Yeah, well, do you have kids or younger siblings or younger nephews?
Yes.
You do? Yes. Do you talk to them about sex?
No. If they ask me, or if I think the need is, but even then, I haven't gone and said and just said it.
What? I mean, what is so wrong? What is so wrong about two adults would have sex? So if an 8-year-old boy came to me and says, "Oh, Nana, do adults have sex?" Yes, adults do have sex. And you get to the age where you would also want to have sex, and just make sure that, you have sex with somebody that you want to have sex with and that you've not been forced into doing it. I mean, so what?
You've made it look very simple.
But is it not simple? Is it just not a man? I mean, we don't even go into lesbianism and gay. We just take into, heterosexual. Just a man and a woman of age who want to have sex.
Yes. You see, sex is not a topic we are used to talking about. For example,
should we not be used to?
Yes. I talk to my girls. I have 2 girls, and I have, 2 boys. Once a while, it crops up. Perhaps there is something happening on in a film. Then we bring it up, myself and my wife, and we talk to them about it. But you know how long it's taken me to be able to mention penis, vagina, even as I feel some freezing inside of me. It doesn't come out easily. That is us. Okay, but you can talk to your children about sex in a way that they can understand exactly the message you are putting across. You can do it. But you can't do it in a way that is vulgar. And once you begin to mention the organs and all that, for us it is vulgar.
You see, I'm just trying to link up to the whole idea of that, the sex tourism booming. But is it so dirty? Is it so disgusting? Is it so wrong? Is it the end of the world?
I think sex is seen as sacred, and that is it. For me, there's nothing wrong discussing sex and mentioning organs or anything like that sort. But telling me you are selling it is a problem.
That's where my problem is, Yawa. I mean, you have people who would, sleep with each other, and then, there's your lorry fare home, or there's a gift for you or something. I mean, money is exchanged hands, gifts exchange hands.
Does not connote purchase?
Not necessarily. But I'm thinking, if that's what an adult wants to do, if I'm an adult, female or male, and I decide that, you know what, I think that I want to use this part of my body and take money for it. I use my voice, I sit here and I talk, and at the end of the month, I get paid for it, but nobody chastises me. However, if I was a woman and I decided to use a different part of my body and then get paid for it, it's like, oh no, you can use that. He can talk and get paid for it, but you can do that.
See, Nana, I'd say that even for the mere fact that multimedia is doing this, and we've mentioned sex lots more times than I ever have openly. I mean, you've got to be brave. I mean, I'm surprised that you haven't had people coming back and saying, "What are you doing?" It's about time we talked about it openly, have frank discussions as we're having. But those of us who believe in the religious...
Not just talk about it, but just teach people that it's not disgusting. There's a time, in your life which you get to do it.
Yes, exactly that.
But we teach that as for this, it's a no.
No.
You find pregnant women telling their kids that, oh, God put the baby there, and like some... Won't even say no. Dad put the baby in there because Dad and I had sex.
Yes, I think also it's a question of giving information such that the recipient can handle. And so we think that for kids or those who haven't discovered it yet, we don't want to make them even more curious than they are. And so we would say it in such a way that they think, oh, okay. But beyond a certain point, then kids are already curious and they'd want to, oh, what are you talking about? Or what is this? Show me or stuff. I mean, how are you going to show them?
Do you think if we accepted this whole sex thing differently, then this whole idea of Ghana being a sex tourism would not be an issue? Well, they're coming here for that, so be it.
No, we may not be able to do that because of our religious background. It's said explicitly in the Bible. Says fornication, all those things. Well, they have chosen to do it. It doesn't mean everybody should do it.
Right.
Some people smoke marijuana. It doesn't mean everybody should do it. So if some pastors, it's not all pastors, please.
No, I'm not saying
some pastors are doing it. It does not mean that everybody should do it. So it's a choice they are making, and they will have the consequences. So even prostitution we're talking about, most of the time it's adults who do it. So yes, they have their...
Some people choose to go into that trade.
Yeah.
Not all of us are going to go to heaven. Not all of us are Christians or Muslims. Some might be atheists. Indeed, not all of us are virtuous. But all I'm saying is, if that person has chosen to lead this life, I mean, the state cannot penalize you because you've sinned. I mean, if somebody stole my wife, I couldn't tell them to court to say he's stealing my wife.
No.
Even though the Bible or the pastor will say, like, he sinned.
Yes.
So, if these girls or men have decided this field, why do the state then say, no, because you're sinning now, I'm going to fine you?
No, you see, people living in groups, there are norms, there are values. See, and these are things which the average set or pattern of behavior that is acceptable. And every community, every tribe, every race has those sorts of things. Now you see, you've mentioned the Netherlands on a couple of occasions. Sometimes I really wonder if it's such a glamorous thing, something that is so attractive. How come a place like UK, nobody can tell me that UK, for example, they don't need money. America, they don't need money. Canada, they don't need money. How come they are not ready to legalize it? How is it so? It means there is a problem somewhere. And therefore, once some countries we know very well also need money are not ready, we have to be very, very, very careful the kind of choice we decide to make. Maybe the Dutch situation is something one has to study, to be sure, because apart from the Netherlands, I don't really know of any country that has made it so openly, legalizing, prostitution. I don't really know of any other country. And I wouldn't recommend Ghana to be the one to follow. And let me tell you this. I don't know how the legalization is going to be done, whether we'll send a bill to Parliament for Parliament to... And I can assure you, the first government that sends that bill to Parliament, the next election,
the out of office. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, my guys in the studio. I had Kwame, Yawa, and Miao. Well, the thing is, there are always going to be good people and bad people, whether they are laws or not, whether there's a Bible, the Quran, whatever it is, traditional religion, there's always going to be good people and bad people. But I think that if indeed as a nation or as a state we put a lot of emphasis and give everybody equal opportunity with education, then they will grow up and be better informed to make a decision that would benefit us all. But as to whether it's going to be legalized or not, probably not in our lifetime. Thanks for watching PM Express. My name is Nanan Sakwa. Tomorrow we'll be back to do it all over again. Have a good evening.